Welcome. You are here live on Action Disasters. I am Rhiannon DeMoland, and our topic today is the explosion in the AZF fertilizer plant in Toulouse, France. Later in this broadcast, we will have a computer-animated recreation of the explosions created by Austin Clay and Ryan Kendricks. These are some of the top computer-animated reactors. Let's look at some of the before and after photos of this horrific. Today's information is being pulled by the following: French Ministry of Sustainable Development, or DGPR/SRT/BARPI and ARIA Science. Now, on to our information. The AZF explosion had several large, dangerous material storage facilities. Some of these storage containers are 2 cryonic ammonia tanks, approximately 5,000 and 1,000 tons. They also had a 315-ton pressured ammonia storage tank, 2 56-ton liquid chlorine tanks, 1,000 tons of oxidants, 15,000 tons of solid ammonium nitrate, and a whole lot more. Here's a map of the facility. Governed by the SEVESO, they own or owned all the harmful fertilizers. They are simply an island away from the plant. In 2001, the site actually cleared the safety regulation test by the French government. The accident. The explosion occurred at 10:17 in shed 221. The explosion was marked at a 3.4 Richter scale. It was felt several kilometers away. A large cloud formed almost like a mushroom cloud caused by a nuclear weapon, along with the red smoke drifting towards the northwest. This cloud was quickly dissipated, but many people still got sick from the cloud of gas and were hospitalized. The explosion let loose nitric oxide and nitric acid, ammonia, nitric dioxide also. These are also known as HNO3, NH3, NO2, and N2O. These chemicals made it almost impossible to inspect the plant. All communities around the plant were ordered by the French government to try to stay indoors and avoid opening windows and drinking the tap water, for they may be contaminated. This is now our part where we will see the recreation of the map and the explosion by Austin and Ryan.
Explosion. Now before we get started, we have a little thanks to our build crew for building this entire facility for us. Thank you, build crew. Now today we'll be talking about how this explosion happened, where it happened, and the devastations that the explosion caused to both humans and to the economy of France. Here we are at our storage facilities, which our build crew have been so nice to build for us. Here in storage shed A, as we will show you, is filled with ammonium nitrate, a substance that was easily stored in the facility. Now if we head back out, storage shed B, more commonly known in the facility as shed 221, is where this explosion occurred. About 20 to 120 tons of ammonium nitrate was stored here. And now to move on to our next section. On September 21st, 2001, the explosion at this facility occurred in Shed 221, which has been labeled in this simulation as Storage Shed B. Now, in the actual explosion, about 20 to 120 tons of below-grade ammonium nitrate was used. We don't really want to use ammonium nitrate because it can release poisonous gas after it explodes, and it's just not a good idea to purposefully explode it. So we have decided to put actual TNT into storage shed B, and we've done the math. It's about 20 to 40 tons equivalent, and we've completely cleared the area. This is a completely controlled explosion. No one will get hurt during this, and we'll show you kind of how the explosion happened. You can see the devastation kind of starting to occur here. Pardon our cameras, they are not the best quality. And now we shall go over and check out the devastation and talk about kind of more about it. Now, as we kind of walk around this area checking out the devastation, we'll talk about more how this occurred. So, with this explosion, no one knows exactly what did actually occur to cause the explosion. Some people speculate that natural phenomena occurred, such as electricity, possibly some wind, natural phenomena like that. Another one of the theories that people have come up with is intentional external causes, because 10 days before this, in the United States, the Twin Towers attack occurred, where 5 planes were crashed in the United States. Now, people speculate that caused the attack here because people were frightful of the attacks that happened in the Americas. Some people expect it was just an electrical fault in the plant. There was an electrical spark, it hit the ammonium nitrate, and it all exploded. More people think that it was an accidental chemical reaction. The only problem with that final theory is that there is no substance that could have been in the facility at that time that could have reacted with the ammonium nitrate that was put into these facilities. So now here we are at these charts that our build crew have delightfully made for us, showing both the economic and human consequences that occurred due to this explosion. Now over here on the economic consequences, we can see if we go up, 400,000, 500,000, 700,000. Yes, it keeps climbing. Now this cost over $1 billion. People estimate it cost even around $2 billion for this entire explosion to be completely fixed. For the entire country of France, it did cost about $2 billion in the French's money. Now, if we look over here at the human consequences, at the time the human risk was high because of the pollution. The people of Toulouse, France, were actually told to stay inside their houses because the noxious fumes that came off due to the explosion were said to be too dangerous. Now, during the explosion, in the facility and the surrounding areas, over 2,000 people, an estimated 2,442 people, were hospitalized for this explosion. 30 people were seriously injured, 21 of them were hospitalized over the month, and out of the 2 million, 31 people did die either during the explosion or were deceased soon after from not being able to recover. Now, also, whenever they were cleaning up the facilities, they were cleaning out the tanks to make sure all the ammonium nitrate was out of the facility so another explosion could not occur while they were cleaning up. And what happened was one of the tanks controlling 9 tons of ammoniated solution was uncontrollably released, and the entire solution was dumped into the river Garonne and absolutely polluted the river, killed the fish inside, and made the water. Now, to finish off the visual simulation section of this report, we have decided to leave you with some final facts about the AZF explosion. This explosion scored a 3.4 on the Richter scale. That's more than some earthquakes that have been measured in the United States, especially even on the fault line in California. The devastated area, the area that was absolutely destroyed around the explosion site, ranged anywhere from 280 to 350 meters from the explosion site, and still the affected area was even larger, ranging at anywhere from 680 and 860 meters from the explosion site. At the time of the explosion, the rescue workers noticed that the Garonne River was being filled with nitric acid. They stopped it as quick as they could and deemed the river polluted for then gave it to be put through some lab tests. Before the ammoniated solution was put into the river, the scientists actually deemed it not polluted due to the nitric acid. The crater itself, created from the explosion, ranged 65 meters by 45 meters wide and 7 meters deep in the explosion site. There were still many places around the explosion site that had shattered glass, broken structuring, and etc., etc., etc. And the final fact that we will leave you with is that barely any legal action has actually been taken against the explosion. The only official legal action that has occurred for this AZF explosion is that the CEO of the company and the manager of the area where Shed 221 was in place were found guilty in the first trial and sent to prison for 6 months. Once they got out, though, they were sent through another trial and found guilty, were fired from their jobs, and were never allowed to return to their work. And that fact we'll be leaving on for a visual simulation area. Now we bring you back to the studio for the rest of this.
When the explosion happened, there were around 336 people in the buildings. Some of the casualties were 21 employees at the AZF plant, 1 NSPE plant, and 9 standbyders. There were 30 seriously injured, 21 were hospitalized for more than a month, and 300 hospitalized for more than 6 days. Many more died to the earthquake that were caused by the explosion, many falling buildings or car crashes. Places in a 5-kilometer radius from the site. For 5 weeks after the accident, there was abundant amounts of air pollution. Water was severely polluted. They estimated it took nearly 6 months for the water to become safe to drink and a year for it to become completely clean. Air was also severely polluted. For about 1 month, local authorities recommended you stay inside as much as you can. For economic consequences, we are going to be quoting our wonderful ARIA Science website for the next 2 quotes. The determination of the depot drug, an oval center measuring 65 times 6 times 45 meters and 7 meters deep, causing considerable destruction in the northern part of the plant. Brick and concrete buildings of roughly 100 meters in length were partly collapsed. For certain buildings of lighter construction, only completely defamed metal framework. Certain storage tanks containing ammonium nitrate solution were destroyed, causing guaning to be polluted. Nitric acid leaks were also observed. A hot solution of ammonium nitrate at 95% was damaged, but no leak was observed. There is still a possibility that there was a slight. 2 of the site stacks collapsed. Several structures were leaning over after the explosion. For AZF, they pressured ammonia storage tanks located 300 meters from the explosion were relatively protected by a building which suffered the most extensive damage. The liquid ammonia storage tank, located more than 600 meters, suffered no direct damage. The buildings sheltering the chlorine tank, more than 500 meters, was damaged, although rail cars located inside were not touched. Finally, the rail cars containing chlorine and ammonia, located in the south site and more than 400 meters away, protected by buildings whose structures resisted the shock. The explosion did not spread to the other ammonia nitrate storage tanks located within the zone, although the integrity of the other locations designed for the storage of dangerous substance were severely damaged. Some collapsed, including the ammonia nitrate. The creating of the situation at risk, requiring additional operators to secure the site, especially for the NH3 tank. For SNPE and TOLOCHIMIE, owning the precious applied powders and explosive based in the 3 principles: factoring, parting, and overabundance of safety features. For the ISOCHEM plant, which is relatively near ground zero of the explosion, owing to the distance which lowers the secondary effects of an accident, as well as a small quantity of products stored by the underground pre-partitionation, which allowed them to be held protected areas. 6 months after the catastrophe, the preference or preference from brands published a report of the establishments. There were directly affected by the explosion nearly 1,000 companies, encompassing approximately 200 or approximately 20,000 employees, claimed losses to various degrees. The French government released 10.4 million euros to help the companies and proposed 1.7 million euros for tax inception. The Hazardous Substance Release Index was scored at a level 4 to determine what involved more than 5 tons of explosive substance and less than 50 tons of TNT. The Human and Social Consequences Index was scored at a 6, given the number of people killed, wounded, having lost their homes or jobs after the accident. The Environmental Consequences Index was scored at a level 1 due to the population of the rivers nearby and the amount of the nitrogenous compounds. The Economic Consequences Index was scored at a level 6 due to the extensive property damage and production losses of the plant operation. Neighboring plants, retailers, and individuals, cost of cleanup, rehabilitation measures of the area, total cost estimated above 2 billion euros. The explosion was estimated to be caused by the ammonia nitrate tank and a chlorine mix-up. They believe an employee accidentally mixed chlorine into the ammonia nitrate tank, causing the explosion. Thank you, and good night.